Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. It's me, Addy, again, and I hope you guys are doing alright. So finally, after almost exactly 1 year since my last birthday, where we got the reveal trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we just got another trailer for the game, and it was incredible to check out with you guys. It was so fun, and it looks amazing. Everything looks to be exactly the way that I hoped. And of course, we saw it live the other day during the Summer Game Fest. It blew my mind. I was in love with everything I was seeing. And I did post my reaction video to it. This is the last video on my channel, so if you haven't checked that out and want to see a fellow FF7 fan reacting to one of the biggest pieces of news that we could have gotten as a community this year that made us all so happy, then you can check that out. And at the end of that video, I did allude to the analysis video that was coming up, and that's what this video is today. My intention with this video is to show you guys the immediate follow-up to my reaction from the other day during the Summer Game Fest, which was my analysis of the trailer, my immediate thoughts, that kind of thing. And then what I'm going to go and do, since it's been a couple days since the trailer and I've had a chance to sleep on it, watch it a couple more times, or rather a million more times, I'm going to go ahead and provide an analysis of it right now. I'm going to be talking about some of my thoughts that I've come up with on my own, some of my own personal theories, and some of the thoughts from the community as well, the Final Fantasy VII community. I'm going to be acknowledging some of the things that fellow fans have said about this trailer and giving you guys my thoughts on other people's theories on this thing, because there's a lot to unpack with this trailer. So yeah, buckle up guys. I'm going to show you my immediate analysis of the trailer following my reaction from the other day. And then we're going to come back here and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the trailer now, since it's been a couple of days. I'm going to put timestamps for all these various sections of this video in both the description and the comments. Unfortunately, YouTube, for whatever reason, disabled the chapters bar on my YouTube videos. Every single one of them are missing that chapters timeline bar now. I don't know what the heck happened. Earlier, you used to be able to jump to the various timestamps in my description on the video slider itself, but I don't know what happened. They're all gone now. They're all missing. I think it might be a bug or something. I have no clue. I hope they're back. So yeah, there are going to be timestamps to this video. Don't worry. It's not like I've stopped putting them in my videos. It's in the description and will be in the comments, so you can jump around and check out my various analyses, my one from the other day and the one that we're going to be doing here today. But anywho's, enough with that. Let's get into the video. I'll see you guys soon. Here's my analysis from the other day. We gotta check this out. Look at it more slowly. We gotta take our time. I'm gonna watch this shit like a million times, by the way. Oh my god, that was loud. So what the hell? When? Hold on. When is this happening? What the fuck? Is this an alternate universe? Is this like... Is this at the end? Like, Barrett's injured. Tifa's injured. This shit was crazy to me, because at first I was like looking at it and I was like, yes, I mean, Midgar Expressway, that's Rebirth, all right. Finally, more FF7 stuff. But then I was like, when does this happen in the original, where they're all wrecked up and injured and something horrible happened?
Ready in progress.
Aerith is wrecked up too. Like, is that after the weapons are spawned, but Aerith survived? What is going on? I have questions. No doubt we'll get the answers. I was expecting this though, right? Ever since the crazy trippiness of the first game, where they were defying fate and it was implying that a different story would happen, anything is possible now. Nothing is off the table. So anything we see that we don't get in these trailers is 100% going to be intentional, because they destroyed fate in the first one, right? They're now going in a separate direction as the original Final Fantasy VII. We're going to be going to the same places, meeting the same characters, obviously, but there are going to be things we don't understand and haven't seen in the original. So I assume that's one of those things. I'm really hoping that it's not something very obvious or for some reason I just forgot about in the original game. But it's not. It can't be.
Look at it all.
I cannot remember when that happened.
Even after
when the entire party got absolutely wrecked up.
It may look that way, but in reality...
Okay. Oh my god. What is that place?
Look that way.
With the windmills. There's a little tower there. So is this when we're first setting foot into the open world after Chocobo Ranch? I don't know when this is meant to take place. There are probably like a bunch of new inserted like moments and scenes reality, and stuff.
It's barely hanging on.
Yeah, so the world ain't so beautiful, like, and I love this approach, man. This is fantastic. This is exactly what I wanted. Is for the open zones, the open world, whatever you want to call it, right? The overworld, to not exactly look pretty and picturesque and beautiful, but for it to look kind of like, you know, worn down and barely hanging on, like Red 13 was talking about. Nature's dying as a result of all the reactors and Shinra's activities, right? But there are small, like, you can see small snippets of that beauty barely hanging on, right? Like, the flowers and stuff like that, and nature just hanging on by a thread and
What's Cloud been
struggling
doing
to survive.
past
Like the
5
fauna is still around. Like it's a beautiful kind of like balance of darkness but also light.
years? Where's he been?
And you're
This is lovely,
asking
man.
me this?
This is gonna sound crazy.
And then Chocobo Ranch, you see Red 13 lying there, and this is definitely Chocobo Ranch. It is so interesting seeing the world like this, because in the original, I always got the impression, right, that when you leave Midgar and you go onto the actual bright green grass leading up to Chocobo Ranch and everything that follows, I always imagined in my head, when I would look at it through like the perspective of like, okay, in like a 3D atmosphere, what would this look like? I always imagined that it would be very picturesque, like I said, right? Because it is very bright and vibrant looking, like all the grass you're walking around in that 1997 game from the top-down angle. But when you actually think about it and you actually consider the context of the world and what has happened and what Shinra does and how they're killing the planet, it makes so much sense it would look like this. And again, why I would want it to look like this. Like when, perfect example, when you go to Chocobo Ranch, I'm gonna pull up an image of that. Why not? I can't even type properly. My fingers are trembling, man. I can't believe this. Look at how beautiful this looks, man. I found this to be one of the most relaxing places in any video game level like ever. This is probably like, it looks slightly better than what I remember. This is probably what it looked like. But it looks like such a beautiful little patch of land in the midst of all the terrible stuff that has been happening in the world and all the darkness that has permeated the world, right? And you go, okay, this is a nice little retreat. Like places like this, like Costa del Sol. If there's one place in a video game I'd like to settle down in, it would be something like this if I could choose one, right? Amazing stuff. And then when you look at it through the lens of what it would actually be like in a 3D remake, it makes so much sense that it would be something like this, right? The world is not beautiful and picturesque and lovely in Final Fantasy VII. It's like Red 13 perfectly put it, it's barely hanging on.
Crazy, but
And I love that
as far as I know,
they really
Cloud was never
nail
in
that
Nibelheim
point.
5 years ago.
Sorry, I know I'm talking over some of Tifa's dialogue. Essentially, we're gonna watch it again a time or two, but essentially what she is talking about is Cloud isn't who he seems to be, or the way that she remembers him, which is a big part of Final Fantasy VII and like really kind of drives the story forward.
It is the very essence of
Bugenhagen, man, I'm so fucking happy they showed him. But we still, this is the best part about this trailer, the funniest part about this trailer. For years, right? We have been collectively as a community asking and debating what the hell Bugenhagen will look like, right? What is this dude going to look like? In the original, it seemed like he was standing on top of this like crystal ball. He was some kind of wise sage, which he definitely looks like. They did a stellar job with his design here, just based on first impressions. But if you look at is it Bugenhagen or Bugenhagen? I think it's Bugenhagen. Right. Look at this dude, man. It's so cute. Like, it's so cute little polygonal character from the 1997 game, but obviously this is going to spark debate over what the heck is this? Is he standing on a green crystal ball? Is he sitting on one, like in a meditative pose? What the heck is his anatomy exactly? Are those his legs? What is going on? And I love how we still don't get the answer to that, since we see him from like the waist up, right?
it is the very essence of our star. The blood coursing through its planetary
Oh, wait, we might.
veins.
We actually might. I'm sorry. Just barely. I still don't know. Maybe he's just floating around in the air. Maybe he can fly around casually, but look at how beautiful this is. The observatory scene from the original, where he's explaining the cycle of life and death to the characters. Like, look at that, man. I cannot wait.
Stream.
2024 cannot get here fast enough, man. It needs to get here right now.
The blood coursing through its planetary veins.
According to Hojo, there
Is this Mithril Mines? It has to be, right? The only reason I ask, the only reason there's a bit of doubt in my mind that it may not be and it could be a brand new cave or something, is because in the original, when you kind of go around the mines right after the Midgar Zalem and Chocobo Ranch, you're kind of running around on, you know, natural rocks, like, you know, parts of the cave. There don't seem to be man-made structures that you're running on, I don't think, if memory serves me right in the original game. But this could just be something they decided to add to the
Connected to Sephiroth.
aesthetic of the level.
Shadows of the Man, I believe he called them.
Is that Rufus talking, by the way? Hold on.
Through its planetary veins.
According to Hojo, they're connected to Sephiroth. Shadows of the Man, I believe he called them.
That's probably Rufus, right?
Sephiroth was in Midgard.
Dude, this... I am such a sucker for like anything and everything FF7 related, down to like the smallest of details, like down to the frickin' design of the room in Com, where Cloud is narrating the events of the Nibelheim incident 5 years ago to his squad. This looks exactly like... It's unbelievable how much of this looks exactly like how I pictured it would be and how I dreamed it would be in Rebirth, right? And that is why I am so elated and happy seeing this stuff. Like, you got like a little shelf here, a little lamp, a little table. Red 13 lying down just like in the original game. Not near the window though. In the original, he was lying down near the window. Unplayable game. Very bad. No good. Just kidding. And yeah, obviously Cloud recounting the Nibelheim flashback. I would love if the game actually started in the flashback. This was a theory put forth by Maximilian, dude. Who's like the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan ever, and I would absolutely love it if the game started in the flashback itself. You're at the back of the truck, and you're going through the stormy rain, you're going through the stormy weather, and you play through a bit of it. That's the tutorial. You fight that huge dragon. You get to play as Sephiroth, and then Cloud's voice kind of overlays what you're playing, and you realize it's a flashback he's recounting here.
We fought him. Whatever happened, he's alive.
But why come back now? After 5 years, doing who knows what.
And the characters look kind of better too, right? Like, they look exactly the same, obviously. But since they're making it, I think it's for PS5 only, they're going full steam on next gen this time around. Like, I want to say the characters, like, especially their faces, all that kind of stuff, they look a lot more detailed. I could just be seeing things, but I hope not. This is so cool. Brand new boss, obviously, we got to fight in the Mithril mines, right? That's unbelievably awesome. The remake did that too. Added in a bunch of new enemies, brand new bosses, all that sort of stuff that we had to fight in the iconic locations we went through in the original. Great example is the train graveyard, right? Area that was very, very quick, very bare bones in the original game. You pass through it within like 3 seconds to get back to Sector 7 when Shinra's about to drop the plate. They expanded the hell out of it and made it its own chapter, I'm pretty sure, if I remember that right, with Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa, and they added a bunch of crazy ghost bosses and stuff, and I have no doubt they're going the same route with all the locations in this game. Like, we're fighting this crazy rock monster demon thing in Mithril Mines, and then we see some Red 13 gameplay. He was a guest character at the end, but look at that vengeance mode. You guys remember, for those of you who played Remake, the triangle button, it allows you to go into like the specific attack pattern or attack animation for the character you're playing as, and you know, tap into their gimmicks and their personal mechanics. For Red 13 is something called vengeance mode. That's so interesting. Rip Barrett. Elena looks good.
Turk's latest and greatest. Elena.
Elena looks sick.
But she's still a Turk.
I like how he got an Elena reveal. She's fighting with her fists, like, rude. I don't know why, but this part gave me chills. Like, the cinematic here with Cloud and Tifa back to back. And then Aerith shooting through the middle. That's so cool. Hell yeah, dude. Dude, look at it. It's so cute, man. Like, it's so detailed and just wonderful. Like, the character, like the subtle character details and animations too. Like, Aerith kind of hopping around in the water with Red 13. Like, so adorable, man. I love it. And just like the design of the world too. We got this like stream. You got the mountains in the distance, like beyond Mount Nebel, or no, those are... Yeah, those are the mountains near Icicle Inn, maybe. So, yeah, they're not the weird contorted-looking mountains, like the really creepy contorted mountains around the Nebel region. They're probably beyond that, closer to Icicle Inn and, like, the City of Ancients and stuff. It's been a while since I played Final Fantasy VII. But I do remember that's where all the stuff with Aerith happens after Nibelheim and Rocket Town. This looked amazing, though. The Junon cannon, just the scale of everything, right? Being able to see all these iconic landmarks, memorable locations and stuff from the original game, dynamically just out in the open world while you're exploring. And just like the way the Junon cannon so imposingly is just up there, and then Cloud's size relative to it, and, you know, everything leading up to it. It's just, it's perfect, man. Final Fantasy fans are eating well this year. I'm just gonna say that right now. Final Fantasy fans are eating good, right? with shit like 16 right around the corner and how amazing that looks, and then 7 Rebirth. God damn, son. Holy shit, man. I gotta look at this again. New abilities, and are those like synergy mechanics with Tifa and Aerith? Red 13's got that spinny move. It looks so cool. God damn, man. I think so. I don't know. Here's the thing. I gotta play the game again, too. Like, Remake right before Rebirth comes out. This has been like 2 years since I played Remake. I played the Intergrade version, and that was a while ago. And if I haven't played a game in a while, I forget a lot about the specifics of the gameplay. So, I mean, I do remember everything that's there that you can do in the gameplay, but the smaller details and how you, like, the literal buttons you press on the controller to do certain things, I can't really remember too well off the top of my head for all these, like, flashy moves and stuff. And so anything they're adding to it doesn't really stand out. So I'm going to definitely play the remake before Rebirth comes out to, like, really be blown away by all these additions they're making. I do, however, very well remember, like, I remember very well the synergy mechanics between Yuffie and Sonnen from Intermission. And I love that they're actually expanding, like they're bringing that back as an actual mechanic in combat in the base game for Rebirth, that all the party members can do with one another. Like, every party member seemingly can synergize in unique ways. Like, look at that, right? It was so cool looking. Yuffie's sitting on Red 13 and then, like, slamming the enemy. Yuffie being Yuffie, by the way.
She's a monster.
Now this shit is trippy.
She can peer inside you.
Is this happening in the ship? I think so. Now that I think about it, I think this is... At first when I was watching this, I was like, huh. It could be a brand new scene with a brand new type of Jenova we haven't seen, like in the last game, right? Like in the last game, we had Dreamweaver Jenova, which is a Jenova we have never seen before, during a segment that never happened in the original game. And we had to fight her in the Shinra HQ, which never happens. And I thought this would like be a similar thing. It's a different kind of Jenova, new scene that we've never seen. But now that I think about it, this could be the scene that was in the original. I think that this scene right here is happening in the ship when you're going from Junon to Costa del Sol. When I first saw this trailer, I thought this was taking place as like a brand new scene that we have never seen before. I wasn't sure where, but given that we had that with Jenova in the first one, I was assuming it was something similar here. But I am very convinced that, like, and literally, that is like the platform up top, the catwalk, where at the end, I think you can get Ifrit materia in the original FF7, and then you drop down here, and then you see Sephiroth in the flesh. And this is officially the first time Cloud actually talks to Sephiroth, besides a flashback, of course, in the original FF7. And I think that is what this area is. I think we are on the ship right now, and we're fighting Jenova Arm, I think it was. Her arm transforms as the first part. I can't remember. She does look very similar to Dreamweaver Jenova, though, from the first one. Let's listen to what Sephiroth actually says here.
Keep her away from me!
They say she's a monster, that she can peer inside you.
Jenova looks crazy. Yeah, I want to say she's very different looking, man. She's got that tentacle, all these like giant pulsating pustules. Remember Ingenious, if you're still there? I only remember that term because of you. Thank you for all the memes and funny stuff around that on your streams, man, because I know what word to use to describe this weird bullshit going on. But yeah, there's Jenova in all her disgusting glory in Rebirth. I think that's Jenova, the arm Jenova.
You can become those you hate, those you fear, those you love.
God damn, I love how Sephiroth describes her, right, to the player. Like, not just Cloud, but to the player, right? Because that is essentially what Jenova is. She's a parasite. She can take on the form of anyone. She can possess anyone. And that is how the Cetra got wiped out. And I hope, please God, that either Rebirth or the last one really shows us glimpses of the war between the Cetra and Jenova, and that they somehow maybe establish that the summons, right, were used by the Cetra to, like, seal away Jenova in the war against her, right? I hope the summons get some greater significance in Final Fantasy VII, in the remake continuity, kind of like they're being given a big spotlight with Final Fantasy 16. And that is a good point. A part of me, for a split second, thought that this guy might have been Cloud. Because of the way he says reunion, it sounded like Cody Christian. And the spiky hair, right? It looks like Cloud's hair. Yeah, could that be Cloud? Like, what the heck is going on? If that is Cloud, like, more questions, right? Which I wholly anticipate, because obviously the characters are going in a brand new direction we've never seen before as a result of defying fate in the first one.
You murdered my dad.
This shit was so cool.
You burned my village.
Tifa going up against Sephiroth
Killed her.
in the flashback.
So, who is she?
What does he say? You know that I killed her, then who is she?
My village.
You know that I killed her. So, who is she?
I know, yeah, I know when that dialogue is happening. It's when he's fucking with Cloud's head when they all go to the North Crater for the first time, and Sephiroth shows him the vision of the burning Nibelheim and tries to like convince him he's not real, right? He takes advantage of his broken mind. And so, yeah, that's definitely where that dialogue is from. Sephiroth's messing with Cloud and setting up, like, the whole unreliable narrator thing, right? This is wonderful, man. I have no words. I don't even know. I gotta ask, yo, since you're here still, Traxim, this confused me. I don't know if it should have. I don't know if this confused other people too, or if I just have a terrible memory, but I played Final Fantasy VII like a gazillion times. I do not remember this happening, like all the characters getting decimated. Like, what was this? Like, am I crazy, or is this something we have never seen in the OG? Like, or do we just have a really bad memory for some reason about this scene? Wait, he said a tornado, the newscaster.
Massive tornado which swept through sectors 0, 1, and 2.
A tornado swept through sectors 0, 1, and 2, but like, why are they still in so many questions? Midgar Expressway, why are they in Midgar? Did they go back? Like, what is happening?
0, 1, and 2. Amidst the wreckage of the expressway, search and rescue operations are already in progress.
Bro, what? I cannot be crazy here. Or did I just step into like, did some like Donnie Darko shit happen where I just stepped into like a tangent universe somehow, like while watching this trailer and this reveal, where in the original Final Fantasy VII there's a tornado that went rampant through the sectors of Midgar? Because this did not happen in the original. Like, what could this mean? And we see Aerith too. So this is either after they establish that she maybe is not going to die in the remake continuity, or it happens before they go to the City of Ancients. I don't know. When is this happening? Unknown Journey continues. Makes sense. They want to establish that, like, there's going to be shit we've never seen, and they solidify that with Unknown Journey continues. They open with something we've never seen, and then Unknown Journey. There you go. So it's probably a brand new scene as a result of this new direction they're going. But what could have caused a tornado? There's never anything about a tornado in the original, nothing that could have caused a tornado.
Wow. Just look at it all. It's so green. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
Aerith is
It may look
basically
that
me.
way, but in reality, it's barely hanging on.
Fucking love that dialogue so much, because they're basically proxies for the player. They are saying what the player is thinking. They're saying what I'm thinking. You have one half of it who's Aerith, who's the optimist, right? Going, this world is beautiful, right? This is lovely. We got this wonderful overworld, right? It's like they're almost talking to the player. It's almost like they're the player talking and commentating on it. And then you got the other half of it, Red 13, was kind of like more of a pessimist, right? He's seeing like the worst in this situation. He's like really jaded, and he's like, okay, yeah, no, this isn't beautiful. It's a world hanging on. It's a world that used to be beautiful. So it's like both, they're commenting on the light and dark of it, which is exactly what I wanted in the open world, man.
I was wondering, what's Cloud been doing these past 5 years?
Game.
Where's he been?
And you're asking me this?
This is gonna sound crazy,
Chocobo Ranch.
as far as I know, Cloud was never in Nibelheim 5 years ago.
I love that too, man. I'm listening more carefully to the dialogue right now. I love that there are moments where Tifa talks behind Cloud's back to other characters like Aerith, right? They're establishing dynamics beyond just the ones between Cloud and the members of his party, right? What are their dynamics like with each other, right? Not just with Cloud. They're really kind of like going in on that, and they established that as well with the first game too, and now they're expanding on that here. I like that a lot, man. It's really kind of like hammering home the fact that like Tifa is really, and it's building on her character too, of being a really nervous person who can't speak her mind, right? That's her biggest kind of like obstacle as a character in the original and in the remake as well. And what makes her so compelling is she's this person who cares deeply for Cloud but can't tell him how she really feels because she's also afraid, and that makes her so complex. And I love how they're like really going in on that and fleshing it out really beautifully with stuff like that. And so now not only like do we get the perspective of like Tifa knowing about how Cloud's memories are unreliable and how shit didn't go down the way he says it did, but she is kind of relaying that information to other characters too, which I love, and it's going to make things so much more interesting.
Life stream. It is the very essence of our star. The blood coursing through its planetary veins.
This is beautiful.
According to Hojo, they're connected to Sephiroth. Shadows of the Man, I believe he called them.
Sephiroth was in Midgard. We fought him. Whatever happened, he's alive.
But why come back now? After 5 years, doing who knows what?
That's crazy, man. Like, I like how Cloud acknowledges in the remake continuity that, like, we fought him in the first game, right? He's back and we fought him, right? It's not like the original, obviously, where it's like, we didn't fight him at all in Midgard. We don't see him at all. We don't even see him until the ship, like I said, I don't think. We see him in the flashbacks, obviously, in Com, but not in the present until when we get to the ship. But they all know who he is. We've seen him in the flesh in the remake continuity.
I think we woke it up.
Angered it, more like.
This boss looks so cool.
Feast your eyes on the Turk's
Same combat music, by the way, from the first one. You guys recognize that?
She's still a Turk.
This is one of the tracks. I can't wait for all the new music, too. They did make an announcement about that, how there'll be both old and new music, obviously. So sick. Love all the synergy attacks.
Keep her away from me!
This is definitely a ship.
They say she's a monster, that she can peer inside you.
This is 100% the ship.
Of your soul, that she can become those you hate, those you fear, those you love.
Green. Yeah.
That has to be Cloud. At this point, I'm convinced. There's no way it's not Cloud.
My dad! You burned my village!
You know that I killed her. So, who is she?
Fucking 10 out of 10 trailer, dude. I'm just letting you guys know, I'm gonna watch that another million times off stream. But here we go, it's PS5 only. I didn't notice that before, so yep, PS5 next gen only. I'm so freaking happy about that, by the way, because now they get to like focus all their resources on making it for next gen and not trying to make it a game that also should be able to run on like on the last gen, right? So they can go all out with this, and they are going to go all out with this. And that is like, that's music to my ears. I'm really happy about that. And available on 2 discs. Like, what does that mean? Is that like, is it going to be so expansive that it's going to need 2 discs? Like, god damn, man. Okay, like, I need to calm down. I'm getting the hype levels are going off the charts. I gotta put a fat like on that, man. So yeah, there you have it, guys. Those are my immediate thoughts on the trailer following my reaction to it from the other day. And now, like I said at the start of this video, we're going to be checking this out again. I don't think I'm going to be watching the entire thing. I'm going to be probably jumping around to key moments here and there that I've really been thinking about and that have really been lingering in the back of my mind for the past couple days, ever since the trailer dropped. And ever since then, I've had a chance to sleep on it, like I said, and I've checked it out many more times. So I definitely have a lot of new thoughts and theories of my own. And like I said earlier, I've been reading up about thoughts and theories from the FF7 community itself, on Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube as well through, you know, creators like Maximilian Dude is a great example. And I'm going to be pointing out some of those theories that really stuck out to me, and some of those thoughts and observations that really stuck out to me, what I think of them, you know, what I kind of agree with, what I kind of disagree with. And yeah, we're going to take it from there. And yeah, let's go. So here's the trailer again. For this analysis, I'm going to be hopping around to key moments that I've really been thinking about and have some new thoughts on that I want to share. I don't think we're going to watch this from start to finish again on this one. But right off the bat, right, this frame right here, huge shout out to a lovely dude in the community, in my community here. His name's Traxim. He's a fellow FF7 fan. Please do check him out. I'm going to leave a link to his Twitch in the description below. I was having a lengthy discussion with him the other day about this trailer, and he was quick to point out to me that there's this frame here at the start of this trailer which shows the very tornado we were talking about earlier that this trailer implies is the cause for all the destruction going on in Midgar, right? That to me is wild, right? That we see this scene with this tornado that looks like some kind of a singularity, implying we're in a different timeline. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about that I was kind of thinking about myself, right? Let's try and head back to that frame there. But this tornado is like in this blink or you'll miss it kind of moment. It took me a couple of tries to really get to this frame. I had to like click around at the start of this. It reminds me of that crazy whirlwind we see at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake at the end of Midgar Expressway, right? Which Sephiroth sort of utilizes as a portal into a separate timeline or reality or something of that nature. And so just because of that, it strongly suggests to me that the following scene is set in a different reality. And a very popular theory amongst the Final Fantasy VII community is that at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, a branching timeline was created as a result of defying fate. And in that branching timeline, Zack actually survived. Since we killed the Whispers, right, which were controlling our destiny or trying to control our destiny, we essentially killed them across all universes is what we seem to think here in the fandom, including the universe in which Zack, of course, died, the original timeline from the original Final Fantasy VII continuity. And as a result of that, it's strongly suggested that Zack actually survived, and we've seen lots of snippets and hints of that throughout the Final Fantasy VII Remake continuity. And this is something that I've actually taken into consideration ever since I rewatched this trailer since the first time we saw it the other day together, when I didn't think about this. And now that I have thought about this, I feel very confident in assuming that this reality in which we see all of our party members dead, right? That's the thing. That's the thing that I didn't really clue into when watching this trailer for the first time, is that our party members could very well be dead here. Not knocked out, you know, not in a comatose state, whatever. They could actually be dead. People were quick to point that out when I was looking up if other people thought of this theory as well, which they absolutely did. This seems to actually be a theory that other people have thought of, not just myself, that this is actually in a timeline in which Zack lived, but one where all of our party members actually died. And I'm going to take this a step further. So let's check this out, right? I want you guys to check this out with me and notice something very, very crucial here.
1 and 2. Amidst the wreckage of the express.
So we see Barret, we see Tifa, we see Red, and we see Aerith. And then we see a Blackwing, right? But Blackwing is also very important, by the way, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the most important character who we should see there. And that, of course, is Cloud. Where the heck is Cloud? Right? We don't see Cloud amongst our dead party, right? Where the heck is he? I'm going to show you where I think he is. The Cloud of this timeline, the Cloud of Zack's timeline, the one where Zack lived. If we hop forward towards the end of this trailer, we of course saw one of the cloaked clones who heads towards the northern crater from the original Final Fantasy VII, but when this trailer is strongly implied to be Cloud, right? And Cloud, of course, in the original was not one of the cloaked clones who were summoned by Jenova to the northern crater to hand her the black materia, right? To hand Genovaroth, if you will. That's what I'd like to call her, right? The Jenova and Sephiroth merged together in that cocoon, right? In the northern crater, Genovaroth. She's summoning all these clones to give her the black materia, but none of them are Cloud in the original, right? But in this trailer, one of those clones is strongly hinted at to be Cloud. That's definitely his voice, that's definitely his hair, so we were all so confused. I was so confused, we had no idea what the heck was going on. How could that be Cloud? But again, remember how I said I'm going to show you guys where I think Cloud is from Zack's timeline? I think that's who Cloud is in Zack's timeline. I think that in Zack's timeline, and this goes back to a theory that I've had since Remake came out, right? When Remake came out and I played through the whole thing and I had a chance to think about it, my thought with regards to the timeline stuff was that if the party in the Remake continuity killed all the Whispers controlling fate and the timelines, then that obviously means that they weren't around to ensure that Zack died. We already know this, nothing new there. But then I took it a step further to kind of come up with my own theory in regards to that, which was that if the Whispers weren't there to ensure that Zack died, then they also weren't there to ensure that Cloud lived, to ensure that Cloud woke up from his coma upon Zack's deathbed to inherit the Buster Sword. But here's the thing, whereas I believed back then that Cloud died and Zack lived as a result of the Whispers being gone, I now think that because of what we're seeing in this new trailer for Rebirth, Cloud and Zack's timeline didn't die, but that he rather remained in his coma. He remained Mako poisoned. And as a result, somehow, right, somewhere along the line, when Zack was carrying Cloud with him back to Midgard, they got separated. And Cloud, in his catatonic state, was summoned much more easily by Genova, right? He somehow kind of took the form of these close clones. He traveled amongst them and was summoned towards the Temple of the Ancients in order to acquire the Black Materia and then take it to her in the Northern Crater. Now, of course, this is all speculative, but this is a theory that I've come up with to try to sort of explain why we're seeing so many inexplicable things in this trailer as a result of course, the unknown journey that they're setting up here as a result of us defying fate in the first game, and very likely setting up multiple timelines and branching destinies. And this should go without saying, but I would love to hear what you guys think as well about what's happening here in this trailer, what your thoughts are on all this, and what your theories are, right? Please post them down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys. But yeah, that was the main thing that I sort of wanted to focus on the start of this trailer, which was the very cryptic and destructive stuff that had happened to Midgar here at the start, as well as Cloud being one of the mindless Sephiroth clones. And again, a huge shout out for Traxxon for pointing out this frame that I missed in this trailer, which adds more fuel to the theory that this is setting up for the following scene to be taking place in another timeline. Fantastic observation there, Traxxon. And speaking of this lovely dude, I'm going to actually segue into yet another thing that he pointed out, which I completely didn't notice, and then I looked it up, and other people were pointing out this thing as well, and it really was amazing to see and blew my mind, and it has more so to do with the gameplay than anything. And it's the fact that we can actually see proof of a sort of PHS system or tag-ins during combat in this game. If you look very closely here, you can see Tifa and Aerith in the background, while Red 13, who the player is controlling, is fighting this enemy. But here's the interesting thing. In the player's party configuration here, there's Red, Cloud, and Barret, not Red, Aerith, and Tifa, right? So obviously what that strongly implies is that Tifa and Aerith, the reason you see them there is because they can still be tagged in despite the primary party being run and controlled by the player being Red, Cloud, and Barret. They can be tagged in for assists, right? And this is something that we all wanted. This is something that we all predicted was going to be in the game, and it should really come as no surprise that it's there and that we're getting to see it. But man, it's one thing to think that we're going to see it and one thing to actually see it, and so my mind was blown and I saw this as a very welcoming surprise, and this is lovely. I love what I'm seeing. This is exactly what I wanted, and I think this is a sentiment that can be echoed by so many other people and shared by so many other people too. This is exactly what we all wanted, right? Everything in this trailer, not just this. Beautiful. Now, I also want to kind of point out my thoughts on what these little dots are, right? I was watching Maximilian Dude's reaction video, and I was also browsing through Twitter and Reddit where people were pointing out that there are these new dots underneath the character's health bar and ATB gauges, and they were kind of like speculating as to what those might be. I think that these dots are related to the very system that we were just talking about, that tag-in / PHS system, where you can get the characters that aren't in the party that you've configured for yourself to actually come in and assist you like in a fighting game or something like that, with their attacks coming from the side, them being there for a split second, and then hopping out of the arena. I think that these 5 dots mean that you get 5 assists and that they have to recharge over time. You can do 5 assists in a row, you can do 5 assists back to back from either Tifa or Aerith in this case, and then when they all go gray, like for Cloud and Barret, they're gray right now, you gotta wait for them to recharge and get back to 5 full dots. And then there's an option B as well when it comes to this stuff. There is a theory B from my side, and that is that it could also just mean you could outright swap the characters when you're at 5 stars altogether. And the reason I say that is because this very well may be the same exact fight that we were just seeing Red, Cloud, and Bear take part in. Maybe you don't just get assists from your characters who aren't in the party or running for combat, but you can literally swap them out for the character you're playing as dynamically while you're fighting. And in order to do that, you need all 5 of these dots to be fully blue, right? I don't know, I'm not sure, but whatever it's gonna end up being, it's gonna be freaking awesome. The main takeaway from all this is that, yes, it is very likely, if not pretty much a given, that tag-ins and assists of some kind are confirmed, right? The fact that we see Aerith and Tifa here while running a Red, Cloud, and Barrett party for this fight is pretty much confirmation of that. And I love how this is pointed out by several people, and that now I can totally see this as well. This is wonderful. Can't wait to experience the combat of this game. Now here's also a funny little thing that I wanted to point out that I saw a bunch of people theorizing about on Reddit, and it's the fact that in this scene where we see Genovaroth show up on the cargo ship, Yuffie runs towards Cloud to run away from Genovaroth, but it might be a little more layered than that. There could be 2 things here that I want to point out that I saw people talking about. First thing is the fact that the reason she's scared in the first place isn't just because this is some terrifying purple cosmic horror stuff going on that anyone in their right mind would be scared of, but it's because in her particular circumstance, she has seen the very same thing kind of happen before when it came to Nero from Final Fantasy VII Intermission, the DLC for Intergrade, right? We saw Nero, the boss that we had to fight of that DLC, emerge out of this purple cosmic dust, essentially, or whatever you want to call it, himself. And that dude was pretty terrifying, and Yuffie had to take him on. So, and then we all know what happened to Sonon, her close companion, after that. So naturally, she would be very terrified of this and traumatized to some degree, right? So that's the first thing I wanted to point out. The second thing is a little funny, right? And it's the fact that maybe, right, I think this is a little less likely, but I could totally see it happening as well. Maybe Yuffie isn't actually terrified. Maybe she is a little, but ultimately, like, her motive here isn't to run away from that thing, but to bump into Cloud so she can steal his materia. Remember, the cargo ship sequence takes place before all the Wutai stuff in the original Final Fantasy VII, where Yuffie runs away with all of our materia at that point in the game, and we have to chase her to get it back. So this could be one of the many tiny moments where she's very sneakily trying to, like, steal all of our materia up until that point in the game. That's a really cool theory to me. We'll have to see. I can get on board with that. I also want to know you guys' thoughts on this area at the start of the trailer, by the way. I've been thinking about what this area could be the past couple days rewatching this trailer. I know in my initial analysis of the trailer, right after reacting to it for the first time, I was confused about what this area could be, and I want to say that I'm still confused about it. I thought for a split second a couple days ago that this might have actually been Gungaga, right? Because Zack and Cisne, if memory serves me correctly, in Crisis Core, were talking near some kind of a windmill-shaped structure, if not an actual windmill itself. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't a windmill at all. It does look run down enough to be Gungaga, but the thing that's stopping me from thinking that altogether is the fact that the party seems to be emerging right out of Calm, right? And I wasn't sure if this was Calm either, where they were emerging out of. And again, I talked to Traxum about this, and he pointed out that you can actually see some of the walls of Calm right behind Cloud. It certainly has a very stony and rustic look to it that is reflective of Calm, and we obviously know that right after leaving Calm, Gungaga isn't there. Gungaga is like on a totally different landmass altogether, pretty much. So my final thought on this for the time being is that this is a brand new location of some sort, which I wholly anticipate in this remake. I feel that in Rebirth, just like with the first game, we're going to be seeing so many new tiny little locations, ruins, and whatnot interspersed throughout the world that we all know and love. And I think this is just one of the many examples of that, including that little tower in the background too. I think, like I said before, we're going to be running into a lot of ruins. Now, speaking of ruins, right, I want to take a little second to talk about the small scene that we see of the party riding chocobos through the world through these little ruins that we see here. Sure, before I actually get to the meat of what I want to talk about with this scene here, I will take a second to mention how fucking cool it is that we get to ride chocobos out in the open world. I mean, of course, come on, we all knew that was going to happen, right? Which is why when I reacted to this thing for the first time, I was blown away, but not visibly like, oh my god, like, holy crap, we can ride chocobos, this is insane. I totally knew it was going to happen, but of course, it's still the World of FF7, my favorite game of all time. right? And being able to see the party in a fully realized 3D world riding chocobos is just magical. I love it. So I'll take a second to point that out here. And we'll also talk about some of the mechanics here that I didn't really point out. We of course have sprint, dismount, pretty straightforward ones for the chocobos. And then we have scent and scour, the more interesting ones, which to me implies that we're going to be able to kind of like look for treasures and look for interesting things using the chocobos' noses. And we're also going to be able to scour for things, it looks like. Now, when I hear the word scour, I immediately think of like the chocobos pecking with their beaks and unearthing key items and treasures from the ground, kind of like Chocobo Hot and Cold from Final Fantasy IX. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Now I'll get to the main reason for why I pulled up this scene again with the ruins you're riding through with the chocobos, and it's because to my knowledge, Maximilian Dude mentioned that this area could very well be Bonora from Crisis Core. I'm bringing that up not because I want to tell you guys whether or not I think this is actually Bonora, but more so the fact that I freaking adore Crisis Core, right? It was my proper introduction to this world that I fell in love with. And so for there to be a chance that this remake, that this game could incorporate areas from that game I hold very near and dear to my heart, then I would be over the moon. I would love, love, love for this to be Bonora, or for there to maybe be another area, if it's not this one, to be kind of an allusion to the fact that it could be Bonora from Crisis Core. Right? And I feel that given how much this remake continuity has been acknowledging the compilation and the events of Crisis Core and that kind of thing, it is a very definite possibility. But yeah, we're kind of nearing the end here of everything I want to point out today that I sort of didn't think about the very first time I reacted to this trailer and shared my immediate thoughts afterwards. The final thing that I want to talk about when it comes to this trailer is this right here, the fact that the game is going to be on 2 discs. Now, of course, initially, this is something that I didn't really give too much thought to. You know, I kind of looked at this as the game is just going to be very expansive, or it's going to be, you know, the classic case of one of the discs is going to be used for installing the game, and the other is going to be used to play it because it takes up a massive amount of storage space. But then I talked to Traxim, right? Yet another big shout out to Traxim for bringing this theory of his to my attention, which I freaking love, right? If this is true, oh my god, this could be like the perfect game. This is like the best game ever, right? It's the idea that what if this game having 2 discs isn't because it's very large, one of them needs to be for an install, or just needs to work the way 2 discs work on a PS4. What if we're going truly old school? They're bringing back that element, and that the 2-disc format is so that they can replicate one of the most gut-wrenching moments in video game history. What if this is a situation where there is a half point in this game where we need to take out disc 1 and insert disc 2? And what if that moment happens when you know what takes place? The death of Aerith, just like the original game. What if we need to insert the next one at that point? Oh my goodness, right? That would be wicked. Talk about a remake that stays true to the original in its systems and in its narrative and within the context of the gameplay, and then taking that another level and making you interact with the physical system that you're playing the game on the exact same way as you did with the original game by taking a disc out and putting the other one in at the saddest moment in gaming history. That would be, ooh, that would be so good. I'll be very honest and admit that I don't think, as hopeful as I am that that's going to be the case, and I would love that to be the case, I'm going to keep my expectations tempered. For now, I'm going to say I don't fully believe that's going to be the case. I really want it to be, and that the reason they're saying on 2 discs is as a gimmick, right? It's a gimmick to make us realize and recognize that this game is gargantuan, which it absolutely is. I mean, look at these distances that the characters have to travel to get from point A to point B for their main missions, which is another thing I want to talk about. There seems to be some really interesting mission markers and side mission markers. From the last game, we see the main mission marker, which is the exact same as the last one, as well as I think the side mission marker too, which is a little blue dot, and then some brand new one as well. This yellow one. There's just so much going on the compass, so much terrain that we're seeing. Like, look at it all, man. It's beautiful, right? Which just implies that the game is going to be massive, right? And to like further hammer that point home, they are adding this point in at the end, which is a brilliant marketing decision. I think that's my realistic outlook on this. That is a realistic answer to this scenario of why it says on 2 discs at the end. But man, the optimist and the fanboy and the inner child in me wants to say it's there because of the stuff I talked about initially, right? Oh man, please let that be the case. But anyways, now I did mention that was the final thing I wanted to talk about, but there's a final thing I want to talk about. Sorry guys, I forgot to mention this. This is the final thing, I promise. But I thought I'd just share my thoughts on where I think this game is going to end, because I've been seeing a lot of talk in the community about where the game is going to end, where part 2 will end and where part 3 will begin. Square Enix last year during the anniversary event did confirm that this is indeed going to be a trilogy. It's going to be a 3-part remake, with Rebirth serving as the second installment of all 3. And a popular theory that I definitely want to attribute again to Maximilian Dude seems to be that the second game is going to end right before the weapons, right before you get the high wind, all that kind of stuff, when Cloud falls into the live stream after handing Genova Roth the black materia. And I want to start by saying that I think that is a wicked cool theory. I think that would be fantastic, right? If the game ended like that. And I think Maximilian Dude said that one of the reasons it would be really good is because the characters would be at their lowest, right? The first game, after it ended on this optimistic note of the characters, you know, having a positive outlook on things and feeling amped up about going after Sephiroth, which is then followed by the second game with the characters being on the opposite side of things and being at their lowest. You know, Cloud is missing, Sephiroth has the black materia, the meteor is coming, the weapons have been summoned, things are entering apocalyptic proportions, right? I think that would be phenomenal. I think that would be fantastic writing and incredible structure when it comes to plot. And then you could have the third game open up with you playing as Tifa and looking for Cloud and, you know, traveling around the entire world you've been through in Rebirth with the high wind and exploring familiar areas and new ones and fighting weapons and all that kind of stuff. It sounds brilliant, right? I'm going to say for the longest while, I've had my own theory on where this game is going to end. And I believed it more so back then than I do now. I still sort of do believe it. I'm going to share it with you guys. And to me, that's the idea that part 2 is actually going to end when you get to Nibelheim. And let me explain why. I think we all want the game to begin during the Nibelheim flashback, right? Yet another idea that was popularized by Maximilian Dude, which is fantastic. I really love that idea. The game starts during the Nibelheim flashback, and Cloud's kind of narrating it in the Calm Inn. But what I think would be kind of cool is if the game went full circle in its ending and actually concluded when the party reaches Nibelheim. They reach the part of the game, the part of the world where the story begins. I think that would be kind of poetic in a way. That idea would make me kind of happy. And another reason that I think it might be the case is because it is a little more, I want to say realistic, if that makes sense. Because here's the deal, right? You have a game that needs to factor in everything that happened after you leave Midgar and when Cloud falls into the live stream, right? Which is a huge chunk of storytelling to get across in a modern generation 3D remake, if you think about it, especially when it's of the scale that this trailer is showing off. You got to factor in things like the story beats from the original, the characters who we haven't even seen yet, like the point at which people think the game might end, which is before the weapons. At that point, you have every single playable character in the original Final Fantasy VII in your party. And for one game to not only introduce Red 13, Yuffie, she's sort of a new character being introduced in this game. We did play as her in Integrate, but she does synergize in new ways with the party we already know. But Red 13, Yuffie, not just them, but also Cait Sith, Vincent, Cid, so many new characters, right? All of these story beats, as well as then the stuff that you need to incorporate from the new story beats that they want to add as a result of this being an unknown journey, you know, like the stuff with Zack's new timeline and, you know, all the extra new little scenes they might want to add in and all the familiar moments that we remember from the original game. When you factor in all of those things, right, that you need to execute between when you leave Midgar and when you reach the Northern Crater, that is a monumental amount of content to kind of pack into one game. I'm not saying they can't do it. I could very well see it happening, especially, and this goes back to the whole 2 discs thing, right? Maybe the fact that we're gonna have all this content means they need there to be 2 discs, right? Which is pretty much, I want to say, honestly, this could be the first time we're seeing that on PS5, right? Up until now, I don't think we've seen there be the case where you need 2 discs in order to run a game on a PS5. That's only ever really been a thing on PS4. I mean, in a more modern sense, of course, that's an old school concept that's been around for generations. I'm just speaking in terms of like a modern sense. The PS4, the games that were expensive on that needed 2 discs, but until now, In all 3 years of the PS5 existing, we haven't ever had a game that has been so expansive, so large in storage size that it is called for 2 discs. Maybe this could just mean frickin' God forbid that they could be terrible at compressing their game files. Call of Duty. But who knows, it may very well be because they are incorporating all of the content between Midgar and the Northern Crater, and this is the game, and it needs a whopping 2 discs on the PS5 in order to be playable, in order to be gotten across to us. So now I am a little more inclined to believe that yes, this could be the case that the game does end at the Northern Crater, especially when you consider that it is a 3-part series, and that therefore the middle part would need to consist of a sizable amount of content from the original game before the inevitable final part, which would serve as more of a resolution. Back then we had no information until Rebirth's reveal about how many parts of this thing that we were going to have. It was anyone's guess. Some people thought there would be 5 parts, some people 7, some people 3. It was all over the place. And during that time, I thought to myself that if it's going to be more episodic, if we're going to have a lot more parts to this continuity, to this series, right, that Nibelheim would be the perfect place to end the second one. And who knows, they could still do it. I just wanted to kind of share that point on where I stand with regards to where the game is going to end, since that's a big question a lot of people seem to have. Understandably, myself as well. And I am on this frame while I'm talking about all this because I wanted to point out, I know I said that was the final thing, but to top this all off, to close this all off, I wanted to point out the fact that yes, that is Judon canon. You couldn't see that before during my reaction, but that's not the most important thing here. The most important thing here that I didn't actually even notice in my reaction was the fact that we have the freaking Highwind up here. This was pointed out on Twitter. I forget the name of the gentleman who pointed this out. I apologize. But I saw a tweet where he was pointing out the Highwind, right? Which a lot of people, including myself, may have missed. And that is so cool. We got a little glimpse of it. Maybe we're going to see way more of the Highwind. I know we see it in the original as well, way before we get it when we're in Junon and we're going up the lift and all that kind of stuff. But do we? I think we do, right? When you go up that massive lift before the parade, right? We see the Highwind. So they're bringing that back. We have a glimpse at that. Maybe it's going to have, you know, a much more significant role in this game before we get to commandeer it in the third one. But I just wanted to point that out too, the fact that it's so cool how we get to see, oh man, so much, everything that we know and love from the original being brought to life here with all these crazy new cryptic twists, with all the timeline stuff, with all the destiny stuff. And of course, I just got to reiterate here, my favorite part of this trailer, and for so many other people too, the fact that Sephiroth is manipulating Cloud so much more in this remake continuity, right? That the fact that they added in this entirely new angle of Sephiroth mentioning to Cloud that, hey, I killed Tifa, remember? So how is she here? He wants to make Cloud super distrustful of his party. The guy can't catch a break, poor guy. He wants to take all the shattered fragments of his mind, right? His mind is already shattered. It's screwed up. He wants to take all those fragments and crush those fragments. He wants to break him completely and then influence him, take control of him, get him to hand over the black materia, whatever the heck he wants us to do in this wacky new continuity, because it's strongly implied, again, that the Sephiroth we're dealing with here, at least one of them, because there are multiple running around, but the main one we're dealing with here, right, the one that isn't Genovaroth, but the Sephiroth from the future who's been through all the events, who's been through Advent Children, all of it, has some different motive, right? But we'll see. Maybe this is the Genovaroth who just wants Cloud to hand him over the black materia, and that's the Sephiroth who's talking to us, and the very same one from the original who wants to break us and get the black materia from us. We'll see. Bottom line is, I love how there's this new angle to things, how Sephiroth is way more manipulative, is just way more chaotic, way more evil. It's brilliant, and I can't wait. But yeah, that about covers it all. That finally brings things to a close here. We're done for real this time. I know I went on for so long, but hey man, I couldn't resist, right? This is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the follow-up to Remake. Final Fantasy VII is like my favorite thing ever, so I could talk about this stuff for hours. I really could, for days even. So yeah, I really want to thank you guys for joining me here today and checking out this trailer, analyzing all these little things, coming up with theories, thoughts on what's happening here. And again, like I mentioned in this video, if you guys have some thoughts of your own, if you guys want to mention things that I might have missed, you know, if you guys want to share your own theories, please feel free to share them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys and check out your own theories and get a discussion going. And listen, if you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It greatly helps out, and it also allows you to stay up to date on these kinds of videos if you enjoy them, right? I make discussion videos like these, obviously reactions from where this stemmed, as well as let's plays and reviews, so if those are also your cup of tea, again, definitely do hit the subscribe button. That would mean a lot. But until the next one, you guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay positive, because we're in the realm of Final Fantasy. Embrace your dreams, and as always, protect your honor, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Cue the outro!